And we are live. Let me know if you can hear me right now. Because I just remembered to plug in the microphone. Good. Alright, one. Okay. And I also just remembered that I left the heat on. That's how professional this show is. Unfortunately, the thermostat in my apartment only has two settings, off and inferno. So I'm turning it off and on like 5 times a day. I wait until it gets freezing, then I wait until it gets sweltering, and then the process repeats itself. Alright. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We got a new episode of WandaVision to talk about. I know there's some pretty important news happening right now. And I was just busy watching that. But let's not talk about that because it's kind of frustrating. And, yeah, alright. Where are my notes? I got like a million different windows open here. There they are. But I guess we start with a health update. Because that's just how these things go. I feel, I don't know, iffy from day to day. Some days are better than others. The meds kept working for a little while after I finished them, but then the symptoms started coming back. Like today I feel okay-ish. Yesterday, I don't know. I still feel considerably better than I did before I took the meds. It's just I'm still not where I want to be, you know. So just waiting to get the surgery now. That's all I can do. It's frustrating because I'd like to maybe see another doctor, try some new meds in the meantime, but it's just really hard getting an appointment right now. It's like, okay, well we have an opening. We can see you in March. It's like, well, yeah, that doesn't help me, guys. Thanks for nothing. Anyway. Alright. Sorry, I've got the news on in the background on mute over here. But yeah, you didn't come here for that, did you? You came here for WandaVision, Episode 6. Let's talk about this episode. Some really interesting stuff happened this week, didn't it? So, we are... Let me just move the chat room over here. We're in the late 90s now. Or late 90s, early 2000s. And to my great disappointment, they are not riffing on Married with Children. Instead, we get Malcolm in the Middle. One of the most overrated comedies ever. What a missed opportunity. Man, especially since now we're seeing Wanda and Vision starting to have marital issues. What better show to riff on than Married with Children? Give me Alan Peggy Bundy, you cowards! Give me Vision coming home complaining about all the fat women at the shoe store while Wanda stuffs her face with bonbons, damn you! What a waste. It was not to be, unfortunately. They do a good job with the title sequence, though. I mean, the riffs on all these different sitcoms are very well done. It's just... not what I was hoping for. Anyway, we confirmed that Pietro still has his super speed, and oh boy, is that going to be interesting later. Anywho, we begin the WandaVision episode with the twins talking to the camera, breaking the fourth wall, as they get ready for Halloween. Billy's already dressing like Wiccan. Tommy doesn't have a costume yet because he's the cool twin. They debate waking up Pietro, who's asleep on the couch at 4 p.m., Wanda wakes up and then Pietro wakes up and uses his speed to scare them. So it's just, we're still doing a little bit of the sitcom antics here, but that stops pretty quickly. Anyway, Wanda comes down the stairs wearing a dollar store version of the Scarlet Witch costume from the comics. Pietro and the twins agree that the suit is lame, and all three of them must be fucking blind because, damn. Elizabeth Olsen, damn. It's worse than the costumes Mom made us the year we got typhus, says Pietro. And there's a flashback to the two of them as kids trick-or-treating and they get a fish instead of candy. That's not how Wanda remembers it, and Pietro says that she probably repressed a lot of the trauma. Wink. The writers sneak in a lot of lines like that are probably quite meaningful but are cleverly disguised as jokes or snappy one-liners. I'm pretty sure I missed a bunch of them in this episode, but there's a ton of them in there. So, in a weird way, it's kind of hard to tell what's important and what isn't. Because something might just be a joke, or it might be just a cleverly worded hint about something with deeper meaning. It's really interesting the way they wrote this. Anyway, the twins remark that Mom has been weird since Uncle Pietro showed up. I think it's because she hasn't seen him in a long time, and he's what you'd call a man-child, they say. Not completely, though, as we'll find out later. So Vision comes downstairs wearing the cheapest version, the cheapest costume possible. That's a version of the normal Vision look from the movies. He's humoring Wanda by wearing it. Also, there were no other clothes in his closet. I wonder how that happened. Ha ha ha. So while Pietro teaches the twins the absolute douchiest way possible to drink soda out of a can, Vision prepares to leave because it's the neighborhood watch's job to keep the streets free of toilet paper tonight, which means that Wanda is taking the kids trick-or-treating, and this is an issue because it's the twins' first Halloween. And Wanda wants Vision there, and he didn't tell Wanda that he had no plans. The twins remark that things between their parents have been different lately. Pietro's got this covered, so they're all good. So Vision gives Wanda a kiss goodbye, but she's a little weird about it. Like, she can feel her hold over him slipping, but she can't comprehend why just yet. More on that in a little bit. Then Pietro scares Wanda with his super speed, wants to know where the water balloons are so they can fill them with shaving cream, changes into a costume like his suit from the comics, complete with that weird-ass hair. Wanda threatens him with threatens to magic him into a pickled herring if she sees any funny business. So it's still kind of in sitcom mode, but the sitcom stuff is just window dressing now. Like, the filler has definitely been toned down a lot. Like, they are advancing the characters in the story, it's just under the guise of the weekly sitcom narrative. I'd be cool with them ditching the sitcom gimmick entirely, but we're not there quite yet. We are making a lot of progress, though. So we cut to Sword. They're bringing the drone in, which is kind of glowing and shimmering and stuff, after being brought through the barrier. And Hayward wants the full workup on it immediately. But Monica says that he cut them off at the knees by sending the drone in armed, ready to kill Wanda. He says, well, now they know what we're doing. Now they know what they're dealing with. And Darcy makes a sarcastic comment that he definitely had coming, and Hayward asks if she even works for him. And she does, as far as I know. But Monica says Darcy's with her. But how? If Darcy is working with Sword, then she's working for Hayward. He's the guy in charge. Yeah, she's not a Sword agent, but she was one of the people one of the experts they called in. He's the guy running this whole thing. So she should be working for Hayward. But no, Monica says Darcy's with her, so things are just devolving into a dick measuring contest between these two now. Anyway, Wu points out that it's stupid to diminish your colleagues when Hayward basically just started a war he can't win. Fair point. Hayward thinks Wanda was never going to negotiate and he just wants to take her out and end this already, but Monica correctly points out that they have no idea what they're dealing with still. No idea what'll happen in there or out here if Wanda dies, so trying to kill her is probably a really dumb idea. She's not wrong about that. Because they still have no grasp on this situation whatsoever. So if you just remove Wanda, there could be consequences you couldn't possibly predict here. Hayward's not having it, though. He says Monica has become an impediment to this investigation, thinks she's soft on powered people, and says that she has no idea what it was like for the people who didn't get snapped. She calls him a coward. He says maybe it's a good thing you weren't around when your mother died because clearly you don't have the stomach for this job, and he kicks all three of them out. So Hayward literally kicks out the only three competent agents he has. Monica, Wu, and Darcy are the only people who have gotten him any usable intel since this mess began, and he's kicking them out because he's butthurt that they won't agree with him. You can't be this stupid. This feels like the writers are going way too far trying to make this guy a colossal dumbass to advance the plot, and I don't like it. I like most of the stuff about this situation, but not this. So outside, Monica, Wu, and Darcy are being escorted out of there by sword agents. Monica thinks Hayward was looking for a reason to sideline them, and he's up to something, so her and Wu take these agents out and steal their uniforms and tie them up and hide them somewhere. So they're disguising themselves as sword agents now. Back in WandaVision, Tommy is now dressed like a mini Quicksilver, so he's not the cool twin anymore, apparently. There are kids running all over the neighborhood trick-or-treating. Interesting, since Vision said last week that there were no kids in town. He hadn't seen any. Now suddenly there's tons of them. So Wanda has corrected for that. But where'd these kids come from? Did Wanda pull them from another dimension? Did she conjure them from nothing? Is it like Quicksilver will say in a few minutes that she was just like keeping them like asleep or unconscious so as not to traumatize them? We're not really sure yet. Wanda asks Pietro if he remembers their time at the orphanage after their mom died. He can tell that she's just testing him because he looks different, and she knows something's weird about him. She asks why he looks different, and I'm so glad they're addressing that right off the bat. I thought that was something they'd just sweep under the rug, but no, she's asking about it. If I found Shangri-La, I wouldn't want to be reminded of the past either, he says. So, Pietro clearly knows something. He's deflecting. There's something he's not telling her, but they pass it off as a joke, as not a big deal, and diffuse it with humor. It's very clever on the writer's part, but you can see what they're doing if you pay attention. So Uncle P is going to help the twins maximize their candy acquisition, which Tommy thinks is kick-ass, and they zoom off. So they're just not trying to hide their powers from anybody anymore. Wanda thinks kick-ass sounds odd, since Aaron Taylor Johnson, who played Pietro in Age of Ultron, also played Kick-Ass in the movie Kick-Ass. Great movie if you haven't seen it. So they're absolutely teasing multiverse stuff now. And the references are fun, but the writers are in danger of getting a little too cute with this stuff unless this is all building to something. And if this Quicksilver, or this Pietro, is not a product of the multiverse, then it's possible that reference was just thrown in there for shits and giggles, which I think is a little annoying. Again, it's not clear where exactly Pietro came from just yet. So Wanda talks to neighbor Herb. Pietro and the twins are stealing all the candy, smashing jack-o'-lanterns, spraying silly string all over the place. Herb is a little overwhelmed. Wanda thinks Vision can help, but Herb says Vision's not on duty tonight. So then he asks Wanda if there's anything he can do for her. Do you want something changed, he says. Everything's fine, but, well, she says everything's fine, but she appears troubled again. So it's becoming more and more common now that the other players in this scenario acknowledge that Wanda's controlling things and just openly ask if she wants to change something about it. And she never seems to know quite what to make of it when they do. I wonder how significant that is. Again, more in just a minute. So we go to Vision, who's kind of scoping things out on his own, and he walks by a woman putting up Halloween decorations, but she appears to be stuck in some kind of loop, like repeating the same motion over and over again while crying silently. And then we go to a commercial break, and this one was really interesting. The commercial is for Yo Magic Yogurt, the snack for survivors. And I think it's like claymation or something. There's a kid on a deserted island, and a talking shark gives him this Yo Magic snack, but he can't open it, and then slowly withers away into a skeleton over several days. And fast forward. I think that's the first time we've referred to Wanda's powers as magic, or anything about this scenario being magic related. So does this signify that Wanda is keeping people like Vision and Pietro alive only through the use of magic? Vision doesn't seem to be able to exist outside of the barrier, so that seems pretty likely. And if it isn't Wanda doing this, then it's got to be somebody else who has magic powers. Not surprising, since this all ties into Doctor Strange somehow. So later that night, Wanda and Pietro are walking through town, and we see that there's a movie theater in the background that's playing The Incredibles and The Parent Trap, both being super relevant to this situation. Also, they get points for The Incredibles. That's one of my favorite movies. Pietro can't believe that Wanda's making them return all the candy. She can't believe what a bad influence he is. He says he basically just popped into town to stir up trouble and cause her grief because that's what she wanted, isn't it? Wanda asks where his accent went. Where'd the accent disappear to? Just now noticing that it's missing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be the first time that Wanda has broke from the sitcom scenario on her own and wasn't forced into it by something else. Pietro asks where her accent is. Details are fuzzy, but he remembers getting shot in the street in Age of Ultron, and then the next thing he knew, she was calling him, and he knew that she needed him, and that really doesn't track with something that happens in a few minutes, so keep your eye on Pietro. So the twins run in, talking about the huge candy bars down the street. Tommy zooms over there, grabs some candy bars, and zooms back. So Tommy has super speed now. They don't really make mention of this, but, you know, Pietro thinks it's cool, and they start zooming all over the place, and it's just played as a funny little bit. So Wanda tells him that if he's going to start doing this, then take your brother with you. But don't go past Ellis Avenue. We know, Mom. So they zoom off. So they're just having no qualms about using their powers out in public anymore. And the powers just seem to be growing all the time. Back to Sword, Monica and Darcy and Wu sneak into a bunker. WandaVision's playing on the screen. Darcy hacks Hayward's computer and finds out that he has found a way to see through the barrier and never told them about it. So Hayward is tracking Vision. He can see Vision's location, and he can see everyone in Vision's immediate vicinity, so he must have an accurate head count by now, Wu says. Also, the people on the edge of the town are barely moving, and Wu wonders if they're even technically alive. We go back to Vision. Vision finds the motionless people, and no one is responding to him. I love this whole scene. They're all just frozen in place. So he turns into his real Vision form. He flies up. He takes a look around. He sees a car just sitting at a stop sign, motionless, and it's neighbor Lady Agnes in there. But she's not all there mentally. She's wondering where the town square scare thing is. It's in town square, obviously, but she took a wrong turn and got lost in the town that she grew up in. And she's teary-eyed right now. Her real persona is trying to break through but can't quite get there. So Vision breaks the hex, like he did with that coworker guy previously. And Agnes quickly recognizes him as Vision, one of the Avengers. Asks if he's there to help them. Yes, I am Vision, he says. I do want to help, but what's an Avenger? So his memories are being repressed. Weird how we previously established that Wanda couldn't control him like she controls the others, but she can apparently suppress his memories, or at least something is. So Agnes gets scared, and she asks if she's dead. Why would you think that? Because you are. And then she yells dead over and over again. Dead, 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 dead. And Vision says he intends to go outside Westview and make sense of their situation, but Agnes doesn't see how because nobody leaves. Wanda won't even let us think about it. All is lost. And she starts laughing like a maniac. You know. So Vision puts the hex back on, and he tells her he's going to fix this. But she's immediately back under Wanda's spell. Okie dokie, neighbor. She drives off. She makes a U-turn, drives back into drives back into town, and we see that they're at Ellis Avenue, which obviously is like the perimeter the barrier extends to. This was a very disturbing scene. It's still comedic, but it's also very dark. It's a tricky balancing act to pull off, but the actors do a great job here. Catherine Hahn, especially. I think that's her name. Yeah. And because the pacing has been deliberately slow so far, I thought they weren't going to take this any further for now, but no, Vision starts walking out of town, like right then and there. Good. Thank you. Time to pick up the pace with this. So he's marching out. Straight ahead is just pitch black. We can't see outside the barrier at all. It's just nothing. So I really wonder what it would be like if he did this during the day. Would it still be just pitch black at the barrier? It's another pretty creepy visual. So back at Sword, Monica gets a text. Her way back into the Hex perimeter will be here in an hour. She just has to go meet her guy over the ridge. Who is this person? All right, they're building this guy up, so it must be somebody important. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the theories that it's Reed Richards. I'm not saying it isn't Reed Richards, but I feel like people who think it is may be working themselves into a shoot here. I don't know. It could very well be Reed. I don't know. It just... I feel like if they were going to introduce Reed, it wouldn't be in a project like this. But anyway, I could be way off base, though. So Darcy says that Monica can't go back in because she pulls up a scan of her blood work, which Hayward had, also said nothing about. And the scan shows that going through the barrier twice has had an effect on Monica. The energy inside has rewritten her on a molecular level, so she's being changed by it. Presumably that's how she gets her photon powers in Captain Marvel 2. But what sticks out about this is that Hayward knew Monica had been seriously altered by being in Westview and still kicked her out instead of quarantining her or getting her tested and stuff. That is dumb. That is, let's advance the slasher movie plot by having everybody split up and go off on their own and make it easier for the killer to pick them off one at a time levels of dumb. There better be a good reason for that. Seriously. Also, does this mean that everyone in Westview is going to get superpowers now? That could make for a really crazy finale if they do. So Monica says she's seen enough test results to last a lifetime, cells metastasizing, cells in remission, but she knows what Wanda's feeling and she won't stop until she helps her. Admirable, but also pretty reckless. So Monica's going back in, possibly Wu as well, we don't know yet, but Darcy is staying to get through Hayward's last firewall. So back in WandaVision, Pietro and Wanda walk through all the trick-or-treaters, and Pietro thinks this place is charming as hell and their parents would have loved it. And then Pietro basically acknowledges, and I have this written down wrong in my notes. I am just really anal about that. Then Pietro finally acknowledges that Wanda made all this happen. Like, he wonders where she was hiding all the kids this whole time. So we're just completely out of sitcom mode at this point. Maybe she had them all sleeping in their beds so as not to traumatize them outside of a holiday episode cameo. His actual verbiage. And then talks about how Wanda handled the ethical implications of this whole thing. Families and couples staying together. People have jobs, better jobs than they had before. Everyone's personalities are similar to their real ones. Although Pietro's personality is totally different. That's something we should be paying attention to. And the really important part is that he doesn't think any of this is wrong. He's actually really impressed, because this is a far cry from Wanda's normal power set. And again, they're disguising this as in a humorous setting with humorous dialogue and humorous delivery by Evan Peters. But there's a lot of significant stuff being put on the table here, a lot of really serious stuff. You just don't really get the full impact of it because of the way they're delivering it. And so they're really calling attention calling to attention the fact that Wanda should not be able to do a lot of the stuff that she's done here. She was never capable of it before. So this is almost certainly a lot more serious than it might seem, but because the way they executed the scene, that doesn't necessarily register with the audience watching. All done intentionally by the writers, of course, and it's really well done the way they pulled this off. So Wanda seems confused. So did she not understand that she shouldn't be capable of this? Again, it's not quite clear. And then Pietro just straight up asks her how she did all this. And now he's just dropping the goof act completely. He's being serious for the first time and says that she can talk to him. And I kind of think he knows the answer to that question already, and this is more about getting Wanda herself to realize it. And Wanda doesn't know how she did it. She just remembers feeling completely alone, feeling endless nothingness. And she looks away, looks back, and Pietro is suddenly a corpse with bullet holes in him like he just died in Age of Ultron. Then she looks back, and suddenly he's normal again. Same thing they did with Vision earlier. He asks if she's okay, she says she's fine, but he clearly does not believe her. And they're starting to get into how fractured Wanda's psyche really is now. And also something's definitely going on with Pietro. This is not a case of Wanda just resurrecting her brother. He knows things he shouldn't know. The Hex does not affect him like it does the others. I don't have a good feeling about this guy at all, but because the writers have cleverly disguised him as this big goofball, it makes him a really good Trojan horse. Back to Sword. Darcy cracks a file on Hayward's computer and emails it to Wu. We don't see what it is. But then Darcy sees Vision at the edge of the barrier. Excuse me. So Vision arrives at the barrier. He pushes through it. He can't do it easily, but he comes out the other side. But the barrier keeps trying to suck him back in. And he's fighting it, but it's actually breaking off parts of his body. These are vibranium bits, so that shows how powerful this barrier is. So Hayward marvels that, wow, he really does want out, doesn't he? And Darcy rushes forward. Why aren't you helping him, she says, because he's just coming apart, physically, right now. And I get that he does need help, but like, what would she have them do, really? Is there anything they can do? So Vision is just like in agony over this. And back in Westview, Billy can tell that something is wrong. And he stops Tommy's super speed with like magic, I guess, because his powers are kicking in now. So he hears Vision screaming, and then they run off to get Wanda. And so the Sword agents are now arresting Darcy instead of helping Vision, of course. Vision says that the people inside need help, and then collapses as his body starts breaking into pieces. So Billy is scared because he can hear Vision in his head, doesn't know what's happening to him. But why is he scared? Like, the twins didn't question any of the weirdness before when they displayed powers, and they seemed to know that something was off about this whole thing previously the whole time. So that he's scared now is very concerning. And Pietro says, and this was the big really telling point right here. Pietro says, don't sweat it. It's not like your dead husband can die twice. So Wanda blasts him, and I don't blame her because that was a huge warning sign. There is no way Pietro could know that Vision died. If this whole thing is not Wanda's doing, if she's not 100% responsible for this, then all signs are pointing at Pietro right now. Somehow, he is responsible for this. So Wanda gets Billy to focus. Billy can see soldiers and thinks Vision is dying. So Wanda freezes everyone dead in their tracks, lights up her powers, and expands the barrier. So the Sword agents run away. They leave Darcy handcuffed to the car, of course, because they're cowardly idiots, I guess. So everyone is engulfed by the barrier. All the Sword agents turn into circus performers. I'm sure that was intentional on Wanda's part. A helicopter turns into a hot air balloon. It's a really cool effect, actually. So what I'm wondering is, will all these people get superpowers now? Because, we got to assume that the same effect that this barrier had on Monica will now be affecting all of them. So will Darcy get superpowers? If Kat Denning comes out of WandaVision with superpowers, this whole thing would have been worth it on that basis alone. So Hayward and a few agents seem to narrowly escape in like an SUV or something, but the barrier is expanding fast and it's engulfing like businesses. There's a car dealership that turns into like an old-timey car dealership and stuff. So it's sucking up everything, and Hayward tries to call for help, but he can't reach anybody. And that's where it ends. And I don't know that this episode was as good as the last two, but the last 10 minutes or so were awesome. It did feel a bit slow when they were still doing sitcom stuff. That's really just the first couple of minutes. But still, you have to pay close attention to that because there's actually very little filler at this point. There was a lot of filler in like the first 3 episodes, but they pretty much dished that now. It might seem like filler, but you have to pay close attention because the writers are being very sneaky about how they feed you new information. Also, they keep adding new wrinkles to this situation because it's not clear how much of what's going on Wanda actually comprehends. It almost seems like she hexed herself. And she has the ability to break herself out of it, but she has to be triggered by something. So, like, subconsciously, she knows what's going on, but she's choosing to... Like, she's choosing to hex herself because she doesn't want to deal with, like, the trauma, I guess. She can be pushed out of it, but until then, it's like she's only semi-aware of things that she should know. And they also keep answering questions and then asking new ones. Like, is Pietro really Pietro, but changed so as to not remind Wanda of her trauma? That's what he said, but is that really what happened? If so, why did Wanda choose this form in particular? Because the only reason they choose this form would be to tease multiverse stuff. But if that's not what happened, then why choose this form? Like, why does Pietro know so much? I think it's because this is not really Pietro. I think it's someone else or something else just pretending to be Pietro. And I've heard the theories that he's actually Nightmare or Mephisto in disguise, and this is what's been manipulating Wanda, thus setting the stage for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But to what end? Like, why would either of them do this? So I like this part a lot. Like, this is super compelling. What I don't like is what they're doing with Hayward. Like, he turned into a massive dick so fast, it just feels like the writers needed him to become a big plot device to do some really stupid things that needed to happen to advance the plot. He's like Walter Peck from Ghostbusters, but instead of being a charmingly insufferable douchebag that you love to hate, he's just an asshole that you wish would go away. Though, I guess he wasn't technically wrong about Wanda being a huge threat. So, another really good episode. A little frustrating in the beginning, but we're still on the right track here. And there are some really interesting questions set up for later. Like, is everyone in Westview going to get superpowers? Is Darcy going to get superpowers? Is this how mutants are created? I doubt it, but we can't rule it out. I mean, a lot of people have been theorizing that. I think the only way this could create mutants is if Wanda expands the barrier across like the entire globe. And does she have that kind of power? I don't know. I still don't like this as an origin for mutants, but I guess it's on the table now. Also, who is this aerospace engineer that Monica is meeting? I don't think it's Reed Richards. Calling Reed an engineer is like calling Tony Stark an engineer. It's not an accurate description. There are many levels above engineer. Also, Reed's a physicist. You know, this person has to be somebody important, though. They wouldn't have been building it up otherwise. I keep thinking Ben Grimm for some reason. Like, he's not really an engineer either, but he's probably closer to one than Reed is. I mean, I guess Ben's a pilot, but I mean, aerospace engineer, it's not that much of a leap. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And finally, the biggest question of all, what the hell is going on with Pietro? Is he even Pietro at all? I don't think he is. But then, what is he? Beats me. But if there is a villain in this situation, if there's some kind of puppet master manipulating Wanda for some reason, it's Pietro. Count on it. Alright. So, let's see what you guys thought. Oh my god, there's so many comments. Let's see. I think episode 6 was poor, especially when Darcy hacked Sword in like 2 minutes flat, even though she's not a hacker. Well, I mean, it's probably not that hard when you've got the Sword computers right there. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that unbelievable. I mean, if she was hacking in from the outside, then maybe. But I mean, she's got all their equipment right there. I mean, and Darcy is clearly very intelligent. I mean, it's not like on Arrow where Felicity could like push 2 keys on her tablet and hack into the Pentagon or something. No, I don't think it's that unbelievable. Why are you hating on Malcolm in the Middle? That show was my childhood. Because it wasn't funny, damn it. I never understood all the love that show gets. I'm sorry, it wasn't funny. It just wasn't. Never made me laugh once. Apparently, I'm alone in that. I just never got it. I never did. Let's see. They can't do Married with Children because of cancel culture. Yeah, I know. It's just really frustrating. Like, Married with Children could never be made today, which is so it's so depressing because that show it's one of the funniest shows ever. But no, I mean they just rake it over the coals on the internet. Oh no, Al is fat shaming. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, grow up, you cowards. It's comedy. And we have a super chat. Jokaje13. I hope I pronounced that right. Thank you for the $5. If they use WandaVision as a way to introduce the X-Men, why don't you... where do you think they should go? Well, that's tough to answer because... Well, one, I don't think they should introduce the X-Men this way. I like the X-Men being a natural byproduct of evolution, because that's kind of the whole thing. Yeah, if they're created by Wanda, well, it kind of takes away. It kind of takes away what makes them them, you know. Plus, like I said, I mean, you can't have all the mutants in the world be spun out of like a small population in like a small town in New Jersey. The only way this works is if the barrier expands across the entire world. We don't know if Wanda has that kind of power yet. And also, I mean, then you'd have to explain how all these mutants with decades of history pop up, because if mutants are only created through this, well, then you can't really do Magneto, who was, you know, a Holocaust survivor. I'm sure they'd have to update that because of the timeline or whatever, but you know, he can't have used his powers to escape from the Holocaust or something. Or maybe they'd change it to like a civil rights thing. I don't know, but you know, specifically with a lot of the history of mutants like Xavier, Magneto, and Apocalypse, who became a mutant in like ancient Egypt. I mean, the only way mutants are created through this is if Wanda goes back in time and like affects the timeline and stuff, and we haven't. It becomes very messy if we do it that way. I don't like this as an origin story for mutants. I really don't. And let's see. Stig Games. I'm going to butcher all these names, guys. But thank you for the $6.99. There are a lot of people who believe the main villain of the show is Mephisto from the Marvel Comics. Do you agree with them? It's definitely a possibility. I believe Mephisto had some kind of hand in creating Speed and Wiccan. I don't know a lot about the Young Avengers characters, honestly, but I read that online. I think he was partially responsible for creating them, so I guess that would make sense. I still don't know why, if it is Mephisto, which could tie into Doctor Strange, we still don't know why Mephisto would be interested in Wanda. They still have to make that make sense, if that's what's going on here. Let's see. Let's look at that. From what I gather, there's more to Pietro than meets the eye. He's hiding something as well. Might be an agent for the person who's really behind all of it. That, or he is the person who's really behind all of it. Because, yeah, he knows things he couldn't possibly know. So there's something going on with him. I tend to think that whoever is really responsible for all this is just using Pietro like as a cover. Like, that's not really him. That's somebody else in disguise, I think. Wanda looked amazing in the Scarlet Witch costume. Oh, damn Skippy. In my opinion, she looked the best out of all the heroes in the heroes of Marvel in her original costume. It gave me the feeling like I felt like seeing Luke again. You mean Luke Cage? But yeah, she looked great, didn't she? Damn. Let's. Kat Dennings-Darcy could become her Two Broke Girls character inside the Hex. Wouldn't that be something? Oh, boy. Like Max Black, but with superpowers. Oh, lordy. Hayward pulled a Team Flash move. Yeah, I don't like what they're doing with Hayward right now. It's my one real complaint at the moment. I guess they could explain it like they did set up that there's some kind of history with Hayward and Monica and Monica's mom. Maybe Hayward, deep down, just wanted to remove Monica from the situation to protect her or something. I could buy that. But it seems like they just want to vilify Hayward. And I don't like it. It feels lazy. Like horror movies, slasher movies do this all the time. Just have characters make the stupidest possible decisions just to advance the plot. And like, you can have characters advance the plot by doing smart things too. Why don't you do that? You know? The whole Hayward thing it just bothers me right now. That's my one real gripe at the moment. Something Pietro is not the same from Sony, but who knows? No, he's different. They haven't really explained what he is. The show would have us believe that he is the same Pietro from Age of Ultron, but he looks different. But that doesn't really track because his personality is completely different, and he knows things that only happened after Pietro died. So I think they're trying to have it both ways right now. They're trying to make that connection to the original Pietro, but also trying to tease the multiverse, and something is not tracking. Something is not adding up about the whole situation, but I don't know. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too here. I'm not really sure which way they're going with it. It's like Wanda's controlling them and not controlling them at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, it's like she's in control but not complete control, and there are some people like Vision and Quicksilver that she can't control or only partially control. It's not really clear why yet. That's what's so interesting about it. The kid actors are amazing. Yeah, they're pretty good. No complaints about bad child actors yet. That's good casting there. The shark said it used to be hungry until it ate Yo Magic. So is somebody feeding off of Wanda's power? Is that what's going on here? My father and I loved that movie as well. Assume you're talking about The Incredibles? Yeah, I love that movie. And the sequel's pretty great too. Not quite as good as the first one, but still pretty awesome. Did Wanda also lose her accent? No, she loses it while she's under the hex, but when she's outside of the hex, you can see it coming back. See the accent coming back. Let's see. How the hell do Wu and Monica take out two men but sneak into the server room and somehow an entire army base doesn't know? I don't know. Suspension of disbelief. There's some things you just have to write off because it's TV. I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, these agents were escorting them out of the compound. Maybe they were just at the edges of the compound and they slipped in unnoticed. Yeah, it's kind of it's a little bit of a weak sauce argument, but I mean, I can forgive these types of things if the rest of the show is legitimately good. I'm much less forgiving if the show itself just sucks on toast. If a really bad show pulled this type of shit, I wouldn't give them any leeway for it. But since the show itself is actually good, it's like, yeah, I can give them one or two moments like this. It's not really a big deal. Yeah. Vision already explained in the last episode he can't remember anything and doesn't know why he can't, so it makes sense. She's not controlling him, but his mind can still be wiped. Yeah, so that's something to really focus in on. So Vision's mind can't be wiped. So he can't remember anything beyond Westview. So Wanda can wipe Vision's mind, but not Pietro's. Because Pietro knows that Vision died. Somehow, he shouldn't, because Vision only died after Pietro died. So how does Pietro know that? Him knowing that is a big, big warning sign that something is not right with Pietro. Something is off about that guy. Hope it's not Reed. The Fantastic Four deserve a movie. Oh, they're getting a movie. They've got a director all lined up and everything. It's been announced. I wouldn't put it past them to introduce those characters in other projects first. I think that'd actually be. I think that'd be pretty cool. It's something Marvel's been pretty good about. But no, they're getting a movie. It's going to be directed by the guy who has been doing the Spider-Man movies. Forget his name, but he did a Homecoming and Far From Home, and he's doing the third one too. And then he's moving on to Fantastic Four. Incredibles are a Fantastic Four Easter egg. Maybe, or it could just be the superpowered family thing. Pietro was a little too happy to let Vision go on his way, like he wants her to use more and more power. Or he just wants to be alone with Wanda and the kids, and Vision is like the one person who might stop him if he sees something weird going on. Pietro is like super shady right now. He says a lot. It says you don't really realize how shady because they're portraying him as this affable goofball. It's really clever the way they did that. No way to help him. I'm sitting here waiting for them to call the Avengers at this point. Definitely an Avengers level threat. Well, do the Avengers even technically exist anymore? Because Tony's dead. Cap, if he's not dead, then he's way too old to do anything. Natasha's dead. I guess you could call Bruce. Clint has been trying to retire for like 3 movies. Rhodey? Rhodey's going to be involved. Rhodey's going to be involved in Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I mean he might be available. Yeah, we don't know if the Avengers technically exist anymore. Okay. All right, Jokaji 13. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I am. What if... thank you for the super chat. What if Hayward is secretly a Hydra agent? Well, I don't think so. I mean, they've been trying to destroy Hydra for like... Technically, there have been like 3 different stories where they've destroyed Hydra. First, they thought they destroyed it in Captain America 1. Then they kind of destroyed it again in Captain America the Winter Soldier. Then they kind of destroyed it again in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I don't think it's Hydra. I mean, they've kind of beaten that horse to death. And I guess they kind of mopped up Hydra again in Age of Ultron. So is Hydra still a thing anymore? I think it would be kind of redundant if it was. And Achilles, I don't know what kind of currency that is, but thank you for the 145 units of ZAR. Whatever kind of currency that is, thank you. No comment or question, but thank you very much. Maybe he's scared because his dad was in pain. Referring to Tommy. Yeah, I guess, but it seemed like, I don't know, I forget what the verbiage was exactly. It's like, I can hear Dad in my head. I'm scared. What's going on? It's like, well, that's the part that confused me, because the twins seem to know what's going on, or at least have some idea. Like, they weren't weirded out when strange things started happening before. Now suddenly he is, so I wonder if that's significant somehow. If the twins are getting freaked out when weird stuff happens, is that a sign that Wanda's control over everything is slipping? Or if the influence of whoever or whatever is doing all this is increasing? It's gotta be Quicksilver. Gotta be. Also, no way Pietro would say some awful crap like that. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's totally up to something shady. I think it's very interesting that he specifically mentioned that everyone in town had a personality that was similar to their original ones, while his personality is completely different. That was not a coincidence. And Achilles, thank you for another 100 units of whatever currency that is. Hey Thorias, forgot to attach the message on the last one, so here's another. Just wanted to say, hope you feel better soon, and I enjoy your reviews, always to the point. It's South African Rand, by the way. Oh, thank you. Hope you feel better soon. Yeah, me too. Me too. I feel okay right now. Today was a pretty good day. The headaches are still there. They're kind of intermittent. Like, because when this first started, I've talked about this before. It felt like my head was in a giant vice, and there was the really painful area would kind of move around. Like sometime it would be over here, and then it would be back here, and then over here, and so I don't have any of that today. There's still this constant pressure, but it has been diminished since I took the last round of meds. So fingers crossed that the sinus surgery I'm getting next month will finish that off. If not, maybe I can get some new meds. I don't know, but it is better, like significantly better than it was. I'm still not done with it yet, unfortunately. I do feel pretty good today, though. Illuminous Poo. And I'm sorry in advance for butchering your name. Wiccan and Speed are okay. Stay mad. We need you, Thorias. Oh no, I'm always mad. It's just there's no need for the anger when I'm talking about something that's good. But you know, Batwoman's got a new episode airing tomorrow, so ugh, God. Yeah, the anger will be back soon. Oh, lordy. I found this curious. What does it mean? Is he actually still dead, and are Wanda's powers keeping him alive? And leaving the barrier kills him, or is it just doing everything it can to keep him there? Yeah, we don't know yet. I kind of think it's just doing everything it can to keep him there. Because that way they can keep Vision around post-WandaVision. And there's no reason to leave him dead. I mean, there's still plenty of stuff you can do with Vision. So I think killing him once this situation is resolved would just be a waste. So they can bring Vision out of this alive and have him do other things, like appear in new movies and stuff. I think they should. The Hex didn't give Monica her powers. She had them already. A couple people have said this, but did she? I mean, she didn't display any powers before she went through the Hex, and if she did have powers, where'd she get them? I mean, it's a simple explanation for how she would get powers, or maybe it's a combination of the Hex and whatever happens in Captain Marvel 2. I mean, she never showed that she had superpowers prior to WandaVision. If Darcy dresses like her Two Broke Girls character in the next episode, it'll be so meta. Yeah. Would also be super meta if maybe they do The Office next week, and then John Krasinski shows up as Reed Richards. I saw some people were actually predicting that on Twitter last night. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I think anybody expecting that is just like, they're just setting themselves up to be trolled. But imagine if they did do it. I mean, we don't even know if John Krasinski has been cast as Reed Richards. I mean, everybody seems to want it. I want that casting too. I think that's great casting, but we don't know yet. And Krasinski has teased it though. Mephisto or Nightmare could do this because they probably sense the hidden potential with Wanda, so they want to exploit it. Okay. I guess Mephisto makes more sense since he has some kind of involvement in the creation of the twins, so that would make sense. I guess like maybe Wanda was more powerful than she ever realized and was only tapping into some of her abilities prior to WandaVision. I don't know. There's still something about that stuff that would need to be explained. Like Sword wants Vision for the technology, and whatever Pietro is working for wants Wanda or the twins. Yeah. Yeah. It's probably Riri, somebody says. Well, you mean the person that Monica's meeting? No, they said it was a man. They said it was a man. Although Riri Williams is getting a Disney Plus show at some point. I think they announced that, didn't they? Oh, God. Why? Yeah, let's take this terrible character that everybody hates and give her her own show. Sure, that'll work out. In regards to Tommy, it could be a new power, and hearing your dad in pain and dying would be enough to scare an adult, let alone a child. Yeah, but I mean, the twins never even blinked when they developed new powers before. And they were well aware of the fact that they could age themselves artificially. I wonder if it's because Vision was outside the barrier and thus outside of Wanda's influence. That's because it was scary. Because if it was inside, apparently Wanda could just change everything automatically. That probably had something to do with it. Thorias is Hulk confirmed. I'm the Hulk now. It's so strange. Like, people have said I'm turning into the Joker, into Lex Luthor, into Atrocitus. And now I'm the Hulk. That's a new one. I guess I could put a green tint on with Adobe Premiere. I was screwing with the red one earlier. See what I can make that look like. Next episode is Modern Family. Is it? Are there trailers for the next episode? I didn't see them on my Disney Plus account. I don't know. I heard on TV. I heard on like Twitter that it was The Office or something. Like, do they release previews for the next episode? If so, could somebody link me to them? Haven't seen Marvel tease Adam Warlock in the MCU since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Do you think they will still use him? Yeah, probably. I mean, Guardians 3 got delayed because of the James Gunn situation, but as far as I know, they're still going to use the script when Gunn gets around to making the movie. So I'm sure Adam Warlock will show up in Volume 3. I mean, they don't go off world very often, so I don't think there'd be a reason to tease Adam Warlock until that in WandaVision or Falcon and Winter Soldier or whatever. No, I'm sure he'll be in Guardians Volume 3. Maybe Thor: Love and Thunder, because Star-Lord's going to appear in that one apparently. I can't wait for the part where she invades and takes over a country and is praised for doing so. Seriously, Riri is not a hero. Oh yeah, totally. She's awful. I remember reviews of that story that I saw. I didn't read it, obviously. Fuck that. But yeah, apparently Riri Williams overthrew the government of a European nation, caused an international incident, and then everybody said how awesome she was for doing it. It's like, I think there was one SHIELD agent who said you just created a big problem for us, but nothing ever came of it. Oh God, how on earth are they going to make a show about that character? Oh man. Thank God Bendis left Marvel, man. Thank God. Let him ruin some other company for a while. That's how the show will conclude. OMG, Vision is going to almost kill Wanda. The show's getting depraved. Oh no, they're not gonna kill Wanda, but if they could potentially be building to some kind of confrontation between Vision and Wanda. I mean, the honeymoon period's gonna be over at that point, I think. Kind of a shame. They're a nice couple. You'd make a better Lex Luthor than Jesse Eisenberg. Well, pretty much anyone would be a better Lex Luthor than Jesse Eisenberg. Oh boy, where was I? There's a bunch of promos for the show floating around, but they don't really tell you what happens in the next episode. It's just a combination of everything that's going to happen in each episode. All right. Maybe I could find him somewhere. Get a Batwoman question. Oh, hold on. Stephen Korn, thank you for the $4.99. No comment, but thank you anyway. Yeah. Where was it? I got a Batwoman question. When are they going to mention the kryptonite poisoning? It's been 2 episodes and they've still not addressed it. Yeah, there was one scene where she was shopping for painkillers at the drugstore, but it hasn't come up since then. And I'm not surprised at all. I mean, they built that up so much. Like, kryptonite can penetrate the batsuit. If someone has a kryptonite bullet, the user of the batsuit is screwed. And then they use the kryptonite bullet and nothing happens. Were you expecting anything else? This is absolutely the kind of crap that Batwoman would pull. Like, the one thing that could take Batwoman down didn't work. Because the batsuit is just that amazing. It's so awful. It's so awful. It'd still be cool if Spider-Woman got a Disney Plus series. I'd like Spider-Woman to get a movie. Honestly, Jessica Drew? That'd be cool. I'd watch that, but I don't think it'll happen. She's probably under the auspices of Sony. Like, Sony probably has the rights to Jessica Drew, unfortunately. Because remember, Spider-Man is really just on loan from Sony to Marvel. The only reason we get Spider-Man in the MCU is because they worked out a deal that Marvel could use him. So, yeah, don't hold your breath on Spider-Woman. If there's a Spider-Woman project that's going to happen eventually, it's going to be made by Sony and Amy Pascal. So don't get your hopes up on that one. Jesse was my favorite Lex Luthor, to be honest. Okay, well, I just never liked the goofy portrayal of Lex Luthor. I liked him as like more serious. Like my favorite portrayal of Lex is probably from Superman the Animated Series. I like that version of Lex. Like, very serious and cunning and calculating, and not all like, ugh. Like, I never liked the portrayal of him in like the Christopher Reeve movies. Didn't like it. No, I like the more serious version. What do you think about the thought of Wanda's rewriting DNA to cause the mutant X gene? You know, I'm not ruling it out, I just don't like the idea. Because, again, the only way that happens is if she does what she's doing to Westview to everyone on Earth. So people all over the world are affected. And it's just... I don't like the idea. It doesn't... To me, it takes something away from mutants. Because their whole thing is that they're a natural occurrence of evolution. Even though that's not really how evolution works. But if they're now created by Wanda, you're turning Wanda into a Deus Ex Machina at that point. Bendis writes himself into a corner. Yeah. Bendis does a lot of things. I heard his Superman run has been garbage. John Cryer was actually pretty good in season 4 of Supergirl as Lex Luthor. He kind of saved the show for a bit, then they stupefied him like they do. Well, yeah, it's Supergirl. They stupefy everything. How did you enjoy a week without Batwoman? Hope you savored it because it's all about to end tomorrow. It was great, wasn't it? A week without Batwoman. It was a nice vacation. While it lasted. Michael Rosenbaum is still the best TV Lex Luthor. Yeah, he was one of the few redeeming aspects of Smallville for me. I actually liked his portrayal of Lex. They didn't make him all hammy and silly and stupid. No, he was a smart guy, calculating. They played him serious. I liked that. I still think Smallville is garbage, but I liked that version of Lex. I genuinely laughed my head off at you roasting Batwoman. Oh, thank you. It's nice to know that people at least get a kick out of those videos, because they're so stressful to make. You have no idea. Did you watch the Super Bowl? No, not really. No, I believe I was working that night. I don't really watch football. The only thing I really know about football is that the Cowboys are the worst team in professional sports. And I love when the Cowboys lose, because then the tweets in my timeline are hilarious. So I'm always rooting for the Cowboys to lose, even though I don't watch football. Do you think the twins will play a significant role in helping Wanda come to her senses in the finale? Probably. And they put them in there for some reason. Maybe Pietro or the Thing disguising himself as Pietro will put the twins in danger? I expect the twins will be put in danger at some point. I believe there was something on Twitter, I think the last 3 episodes of WandaVision are going to be about an hour long each. And, so far they're about 3.5 hours in, and there's some, so, I think there might just be 3 episodes left. Might be 3 or 4. Because the Disney Plus shows are all supposed to be like about 7 hours of content each. So I think we're a little more than halfway there. And so it could just be 3 episodes left. So we're getting pretty close there. So if there's an end game to this, we're going to be moving toward it soon. Was this your first choice as a career, or did you want to do something else? Actually, there are a lot of things I wanted to do. I toyed with the idea of being a writer at one point. I just didn't have my ADHD wouldn't really allow it. I had a lot of fun ideas for stuff I couldn't write. I couldn't really just sit still and focus on one thing long enough to do it. I wanted to be a filmmaker for a while. I went to film school, actually. Worked on some independent things that were terrible. Eventually, I realized that it wasn't a fun experience for me. I was killing myself doing it, and it just wasn't really getting anything out of it. But for a long time, YouTube was just a hobby. I talked about pro wrestling on my original channel a lot, and I just did it. I did it for fun. And then eventually I realized, hey, people can actually make money doing this. And I do it all the time anyway. If I could do this and call it my job, that'd be great. Because I like that I can just do it all from home. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to commute, for hours every day. And that's great. That's fantastic. So I don't know when the idea came to me that I could actually call this a job, but that's been the goal for since I started this channel. What would be the worst thing they can do with the explanation for what's going on? Good question. I hadn't really thought about it. I guess the worst thing would be to just write it off as just Wanda. I think writing it off as just Wanda doing everything, because they've teased too many things at this point. It can't just be as simple as just Wanda creating all this. There has to be more to it than that. They've teased the multiverse. They've teased potentially Mephisto or Nightmare. They've teased a lot of things. If it's just Wanda and all the teases were just red herrings, that would be really cheap. Excuse me. If you still want to do other things, go for it. Well, I'd like to get healthy first. I've been sick since frickin' June, guys. I like to feel more or less normal again. How does Supergirl fare compared to Batwoman? I think Batwoman's worse. But I guess how they compare is that Supergirl is incredibly stupid, but Batwoman is incredibly stupid and offensive. So I guess Batwoman is technically worse. Yeah, they teased that there's more to it than just being Wanda. Yeah, they teased it, but I think there's still room for them to take it back. I don't think they will, but if they were to do that, I just think it would be a really cheap cop-out. Will you review Super Cuck and Lois? Yes, I will. I'll definitely be doing the first episode. I've said that before. Whether I do more than that will depend on the views the first episode gets. That review gets. So if you want me to review Super Cuck and Lois every week, that first video will need to do well. Because I'm trying to get my ad revenue back to where it was about a year ago. And, making progress. I haven't checked the analytics today. Yeah, don't do it now. But yeah, my analytics are improving since January. I think either, I don't know, ad revenue paycheck last one was better. Because last couple of months it's been pretty miserable. But it's starting to tick up now. I'd like to get it back to where it was last winter, early spring. That's when I was doing. I was within spitting distance of breaking even for the month. After expenses and rent and stuff. Would be nice to get back to that because I'm still losing money on this venture, this whole YouTube thing. I'm still not breaking even with it now. Still a lot of leveling up needs to be done. And so sub growth has kind of ticked back up. Because, again, sub growth was really stagnating for a while there, too. Thanks to the beer bug. But now that we've got stuff to talk about again, we're doing better. And I got about... you know what? I'll just check this out. 1,046 new subs in the last 28 days. Not too bad. I'd like that number to be a little higher. Because I'd really love to hit 50,000 subs in 2021. I don't know if that's possible, but if I can at least maintain this level of sub growth, we'd at least get, within spitting distance of it. How do you think about the theory that Quicksilver's face is Evan Peters because she's starting to lose control of Westview and not because of some multiversal twist? It doesn't explain how Quicksilver would know things that he shouldn't know. It's just, there's too many things about Quicksilver that cannot be explained by Wanda simply losing control. Thoughts on Kevin Feige saying Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Netflix shows are no longer canon because he didn't make them? Did he actually say that? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he did. I kind of half expected it, honestly. But did Kevin Feige actually say that? That would piss me off if Daredevil was no longer considered canon. Because I want Daredevil back, goddammit. But yeah, I mean, they haven't... They pretty much just cut Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. off completely. Like, they don't talk about it. They don't mention it. It's just its own thing. Not that they ever really referenced it in the movies, like, ever. But now it's just a thing that happened, and they don't get invited to dinner. They don't get talked about. They don't get invited to family reunions or something. It's off in the distance. It's just not really a thing anymore. And I guess I kind of expected that to eventually happen with all the shows, like S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter and the Netflix shows, and then there was Cloak and Dagger and the Runaways. Probably all of them may end up just getting retconned or just not acknowledged as canon. Because they were like proto versions of what the Disney Plus arrangement eventually became. So that may be what happens. And it sucks for the Netflix shows. Because Daredevil and Jessica Jones didn't deserve that. If we can get Charlie Cox back as Daredevil in a movie, I'll be happy. Me too. We need Charlie Cox back as Daredevil, because he was awesome. Rumor is that Charlie Cox will be in Spider-Man 3. I heard that rumor too. They'd better follow through on that. I also heard a rumor he could show up in She-Hulk, of all things. Maybe him and Jen Walters will be working on a case together, or maybe they'll be working on opposite sides of the case. Who knows? Agent Carter was good, should have been brought back. Disagree. Agent Carter was not that good. What about merch? T-shirts, mugs. I actually was planning to start a merch store before the pandemic happened. Anyway, I guess we can end with this. But, I had a bunch of designs all ready to go. I actually opened a Teespring account. Then the beer bug started, and it kind of put a halt on everything. So that has still not happened. I've got a file with a bunch of designs in here though. I actually come up with several more design ideas since then. So that'll happen at some point. And there's a couple things that need to happen first. I gotta get that damn Patreon started. I keep putting it off for some reason. But I got a bunch of Patreon exclusive videos that I've been working on bit by bit. I got a bunch of really, really embarrassing blooper videos that I will surely regret anyone ever seeing, because they are just humiliating. But yeah, they'll be on there, and I imagine you guys will get a kick out of them. You'll be laughing your asses off at my humiliation. And Daredevil was the only good one, in my opinion. Jessica Jones went hard woke in season 2. It was disgusting. Well, I mean, Jessica Jones season 1 was definitely the best. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It had problems, but that was the best season they did. I think it was definitely downhill following that. I still think Jessica Jones deserves to come back, though. Can we see the merch designs? I couldn't. I don't know how to put them up right now. I guess I could post them somewhere. I mean, it's nothing terribly impressive. I mean, my skills with Photoshop are crude, to say the least. I got one I like a lot, though. I guess I could post them somewhere. If you're doing a merch, create a shirt with "because the plot says so." That would be fun. That is one of the newer ideas I had since then. Like, the plot says so. Put it on a T-shirt. Yeah, that's. I don't have a design worked out, but I do want to put that on a shirt. All right, let's. Is there any? Jessica Jones season 3 was fine. I don't know. Season 3 suffered from not really having a proper villain. And I guess I understand that, because the villain turned out to be Trish. And a lot of people... There was a backlash to that, actually. A lot of people were unhappy with that, even though it was clearly where Trish was going. The whole time. That was clearly like the journey that the writers had mapped out for her. People thought she got done dirty. Like, no, that's where they were going the whole time with her. You could see it clearly. It was a dark ending for that character, but that was her development. Luke Cage was good, as was the Punisher. I mean, Luke Cage, just, Luke Cage was kind of boring to me. Punisher was good. They could bring him back, too. Do you have a Discord server? No, I do not. Considered making that a Patreon reward. I still got to figure out the Discord thing. I think they were mad because the most moral character had been turned into someone that got a rush from killing people. Well, yeah, I think that's why it's tragic. Because she was the character that really wanted to be a hero, and she became the villain instead. Review The Flash. Oh, God. You know, on my other channel, I had this weekly live stream where I talk about all the comic book shows that aired that week, and I reviewed The Flash seasons 1 through 3. After that, I just had to stop. I couldn't take it anymore. Review Star Trek Discovery if you hate yourself. You know, I did Star Trek Lower Decks as kind of an experiment to see if people would come to me for Star Trek reviews, and what I learned is that they probably won't, because I'm not the Star Trek guy. There are other reviewers who are a lot more knowledgeable about Star Trek than I am. A lot of content creators out there that people know they can go to for great Star Trek reviews. There's Doomcock, there's SF Debris, there's Linkara. They know more about Star Trek than I ever will. You know, and I said this, you know, in the first video. It was like, I'm just a casual Star Trek viewer. I don't know a lot of the history and the lore and the mythology. So a lot of this stuff is going to go over my head. So I was watching it as a casual observer. So I know if I reviewed Discovery, I wouldn't know a lot of the ways that they're just butchering the canon or whatever. Like, hey, the nacelles don't work that way, or the transporter doesn't work that way. Why are you talking about that? It's because I don't know. I don't know a lot of stuff about... There's a lot I don't know about Star Trek. I have the TOS movies. I enjoy them. And I watched DS9 back in the day. That's about it. I watched season 1 of Discovery, and I can see why the fans hate it, because it's it's very reminiscent of the J.J. Abrams movies, which I'm very mixed on. But yeah, I get why people don't like the show. I haven't seen Picard. But if I were to review Discovery, for example, I don't think I'd be able to add anything that someone with a lot of knowledge of Star Trek wouldn't have already done. You know, if you want Star Trek reviews, you can go to Doomcock for that, or you know, one of these other people, because they know more about Star Trek than I ever will. And I think most people know where to go to for Star Trek reviews, and I'm not that guy, unfortunately. So it was an experiment at the time because there wasn't a lot of other stuff coming out. So I was happy to have stuff to make videos about. But that's as long as we've got other things coming on that I can talk about. I don't think Star Trek reviews are really gonna be my forte, and that's probably a good place to end it, guys. Yeah. Review another show. It could increase your channel's growth and bring more joy to me. Well, yeah, I mean, I try to change it up. I do like covering like different types of things. I'm always looking for like what kind of review will catch fire. So I did a bunch of things, other things recently. I did Fate the Winx Saga, and we did we did the Queen's Gambit. We did The Boys. Because I got a bunch of different types of reviews. I like going episode by episode, and I like covering like a whole season at a time. I like to change it up and do like different types of reviews, and some of them catch fire and some of them don't. The episode by episode reviews seem to be the ones that people gravitate to a lot of the time. But it varies. And I think we can call it a day on that one, guys. I got to shift into Batwoman mode pretty soon, so I gotta kind of mentally prepare myself. Oh God, I only had a 2-week break. It went by so fast. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna go get some dinner, and then I'm gonna start getting my headspace ready to absorb whatever atrocities and horrors Batwoman's going to inflict upon me tomorrow night. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in for the stream. We had 200 plus in the chat room at one point. And thank you to all our super chatters. Jokaje13, I hope I pronounced your name right. Stigames. Again, I'm sure I'm butchering all of these. Jokaje13 again. Achilles again, thank you. Illuminous Poo, sure I got that wrong. And Stephen Korn, thank you so much. So thank you to all our super chatters. Thank you for the conversation in the chat room. I guess I will see you guys on Wednesday for the Batwoman review, unless there's something else I can do a quick video about in the meantime. You never know. And yeah, I will see you then, and then I'll see you back here on Saturday for WandaVision episode 7. You guys take care. I will talk to you later. Bye for now.